Ladies and gentlemen, when we speak about the concept of relationships, connections, and the people we surround ourselves with, we are really delving into the very essence of who we are. Human beings are designed for connection. From the moment we take our first breath until the moment we leave this earth, we seek interactions, affirmation, love, and sometimes just a simple word from others to remind us of our own humanity. Yet, there is a question that many of us avoid, a scenario we don't often discuss: what happens when a woman finds herself with no friends. A woman with no friends. Think about that phrase for a moment. It's not just a statement, it's a condition. It's a reality for many. But it is also a position of profound reflection and sometimes of deep power. Many would see this situation as one of weakness, loneliness, or even as a judgment against the woman herself. But I say to you today, we must reconsider how we view such circumstances. For sometimes the absence of friendship can be the very crucible through which a woman discovers her true self, her divine purpose, and her unshakable strength. Our society has long perpetuated the myth that a woman must always be surrounded by others to validate her existence. There is a dangerous message being sent to women that without the affirming voices of friends, without the constant company of companions, her value diminishes. But this is a fallacy. It is a distortion of truth. The presence or absence of friends does not determine a woman's worth. A woman with no friends may be seen by the world as isolated, but in the realm of purpose, she may be singularly focused. She may be misunderstood by those around her, but in the realm of destiny, she may be walking a path that only she can understand. We must be careful not to measure a woman's life by the number of people she surrounds herself with, but by the depth of her relationship with herself and her Creator. There is a critical distinction between loneliness and solitude. Loneliness is the painful awareness of being alone. Solitude, on the other hand, is the state of being alone but at peace. A woman with no friends may find herself in solitude, and while the world might pity her, she may be in the midst of discovering a strength that those with an abundance of friends may never come to know. In solitude, a woman learns to listen to the voice within her. She begins to recognize that her greatest validation comes not from others, but from her own spirit. She learns to walk through life not seeking the approval of others, but finding her approval from within. This is not a state of arrogance, but a state of understanding that her purpose, her life, her destiny is not dependent on how many people she can gather around her, but on how deeply she can connect with the one who created her. A woman with no friends is often forced to become her own best friend. She must learn to comfort herself when there is no one else to turn to. She must learn to encourage herself when there are no voices around her to lift her up. She must learn to find joy in her own company, to find peace in her own thoughts, and to find strength in her own reflection. This is no easy task. It takes time. It takes patience. It takes a deep level of maturity to reach a point where you can look in the mirror and say, I am enough. A woman with no friends may feel the sting of isolation, but if she perseveres, she will come to realize that she is not alone. She has the greatest companionship that any human being can have, the companionship of her Creator. You see, friends can come and go. They can change with the seasons of life. But a woman's relationship with her Creator is eternal. It is unchanging. It is the one relationship that will never fail her, never leave her, never disappoint her. It is time for us to redefine how we view relationships. The world may tell us that the more friends we have, the more popular we are, the more valuable we are. But this is a shallow view of relationships. True relationships are not about quantity, they are about quality. It is better for a woman to have no friends than to be surrounded by people who do not understand her, who do not support her, who do not push her towards her purpose. A woman with no friends may be in a season of separation. And this is not something to be feared or pitied. Separation often precedes elevation. Sometimes a woman must be separated from those around her in order to ascend to the next level of her life. This is a principle that we see time and time again in life. Greatness often requires separation. Look at the life of any great woman who has walked this earth, and you will see that at some point she had to walk alone. She had to make decisions that others didn't understand. She had to move forward when no one else was willing to go with her. This is the path of greatness. It is also important to recognize that not all friendships are genuine. A woman with no friends may, in fact, be better off than a woman surrounded by false friends. There are people in life who wear the mask of friendship but do not have the heart of a true friend. These are the people who will walk with you only as long as you are going in the direction they want you to go. They will support you only as long as it benefits them. They will stand by your side, but when the storms of life come, they will be the first to leave. A woman with no friends is often spared the pain of betrayal, the wounds of false loyalty, and the disappointment of unmet expectations. She may feel the sting of loneliness, but she is spared the deeper pain of being surrounded by those who do not truly care for her. Let me say this: a woman's purpose is far more important than her popularity. We live in a world that glorifies popularity, that celebrates those who are constantly in the spotlight, constantly surrounded by others. But a woman of purpose is not concerned with being liked by everyone. She is concerned with fulfilling her destiny. A woman with no friends may be a woman who is laser focused on her purpose. She may not have time for frivolous conversations or superficial relationships. She may be so dedicated to her vision, her calling, her work, that friendships simply do not fit into her life at this moment. And this is okay. Sometimes the pursuit of purpose requires a woman to walk alone. It requires her to step away from the crowd and forge her own path. It requires her to be misunderstood, to be criticized, to be judged. But in the end, it also allows her to achieve greatness. One of the greatest lessons a woman with no friends can learn is the blessing of being selective. Not everyone deserves a place in your life. Not everyone deserves your time, your energy, your loyalty. A woman with no friends has the opportunity to be highly selective about who she allows into her inner circle. She can choose to only surround herself with people who uplift her, who challenge her, who support her dreams, and who push her towards her purpose. She can choose to reject the company of those who drain her energy, who bring negativity into her life, and who do not align with her values. This level of selectivity is a powerful tool in the hands of a woman who understands her worth. It allows her to build relationships that are meaningful, that are authentic, and that are based on mutual respect and support. One of the most profound experiences a woman with no friends can go through is the journey of self-discovery. In the silence that comes with solitude, she is forced to confront herself in ways that those constantly surrounded by others may never have to. This is a blessing in disguise, because it is in these moments of introspection that a woman learns who she truly is. She begins to ask herself the deep questions: what do I want from life? What am I passionate about? What drives me? What am I capable of? Without the noise of external voices, without the influence of others trying to shape her into what they think she should be, a woman with no friends has the opportunity to explore her true identity. She learns to trust her instincts, to her intuition, and to follow her own heart. This is an empowering experience, because in a world that constantly tries to tell women who they should be, a woman who has walked through the valley of solitude learns to define herself. A woman with no friends often has to face the harsh reality of rejection. Whether it is the rejection of others or her own decision to walk away from unhealthy relationships, rejection can be painful. It can leave a deep wound in the heart of a woman, making her question her value, her worth, and her place in the world. But here's the truth: rejection is often a redirection. Rejection, as painful as it may be, is not the end of a woman's story. It is simply a part of the journey. When a woman is rejected by others, it is often because those people are not meant to be part of her destiny. They do not have the capacity to walk with her on the path she is destined to travel. And while this may hurt, it is also a gift, because it frees a woman to find those who will truly appreciate and support her. A woman with no friends must come to understand that rejection is not a reflection of her worth. It is a reflection of the other person's inability to recognize the greatness within her. She must learn to see rejection as a divine filtration process that removes those who are not aligned with her purpose. Resilience is one of the most powerful qualities a woman with no friends can develop. Life is full of challenges, setbacks, and disappointments. But a woman who has learned to stand on her own, who has learned to survive without the constant support of others, develops a strength that is unshakable. Resilience is the ability to bounce back from adversity, to keep moving forward, even when the odds are stacked against you. A woman with no friends may face many obstacles, but through these challenges, she becomes stronger. She learns that she can survive, and not just survive, but thrive, even when the world seems to be against her. This resilience is not something that can be taught in a classroom or learned from a book. It is something that is forged in the fires of experience. A woman with no friends learns to depend on herself, to pick herself up when she falls, and to keep moving forward no matter what. This is a quality that will serve her well throughout her life. One of the greatest dangers that women face in relationships is the risk of becoming codependent. Codependency occurs when a woman loses her sense of self in her relationships with others. She begins to define herself by her relationships, and her happiness becomes entirely dependent on the approval and validation of others. A woman with no friends, on the other hand, is often forced to avoid the trap of codependency. Without others to rely on for constant affirmation, she learns to find validation within herself. She develops a sense of independence and sense of sufficiency that is rare in a world where many are dependent on the opinions of others to feel valued. This independence is not a rejection of relationships, but a recognition that true happiness and fulfillment come from within. A woman who has learned to be her own source of joy, her own source of strength, is far less likely to fall into the trap of codependency in future relationships. Self-reliance is another gift that a woman with no friends can develop. When there is no one else to turn to, a woman is forced to rely on herself. This may seem daunting at first, but it is one of the most empowering experiences a woman can go through. Self-reliance does not mean that a woman never needs help or support. It means that she knows how to take care of herself, how to solve her own problems, and how to stand on her own 2 feet. She does not wait for others to rescue her or to give her permission to pursue her dreams. She takes charge of her own life. A woman with no friends learns to be resourceful. She learns how to navigate the challenges of life without relying on others to do it for her. This is a skill that will serve her well in every area of her life, from her career to her personal relationships. It takes courage to be different, to stand out from the crowd, and to walk a path that others may not understand. A woman with no friends often has to muster this kind of courage. She may be criticized, judged, or misunderstood by others who do not understand why she chooses to walk alone. But it is this very courage that sets her apart. In a world that pressures women to conform, to fit into certain molds, and to follow the crowd, a woman with no friends has the opportunity to be uniquely herself. She is not bound by the expectations of others or the pressure to be like everyone else. She is free to be authentically and unapologetically herself. This courage to be different is what allows a woman to make her mark on the world. It is what allows her to break barriers, to challenge the status quo, and to create a life that is true to her values and her purpose. A woman with no friends may walk alone, but she walks with a strength and confidence that comes from knowing who she is and what she stands for. Discernment is the ability to see beyond the surface, to understand the true nature of people and situations. A woman with no friends often develops a heightened sense of discernment. Because she is not constantly surrounded by others, she learns to observe, to listen, and to understand people on a deeper level. This gift of discernment allows a woman to make wise choices about who she allows into her life. She learns to recognize when someone is genuine and when someone is not. She learns to see through the masks that people wear and to understand their true intentions. A woman with no friends often becomes highly selective about who she associates with, not out of fear or mistrust, but out of wisdom. She understands that not everyone deserves a place in her life, and she is not afraid to walk away from relationships that do not serve her or align with her purpose. Patience is a virtue that is often tested in the life of a woman with no friends. It can be difficult to wait for the right relationships to come along, especially in a world that glorifies instant gratification. But a woman who has learned the value of solitude also learns the value of patience. She understands that meaningful relationships cannot be rushed. They take time to develop, and they require a foundation of trust and mutual respect. A woman with no friends learns to wait for the right people to come into her life, rather than settling for relationships that do not align with her values. This patience is not passive. It is active. It is the understanding that while she is waiting for the right relationship, she is also growing, developing, and preparing herself for the people who are meant to walk with her on her journey. Self-acceptance is one of the greatest gifts a woman with no friends can receive. When there are no external voices telling her who she should be, a woman is free to accept herself for who she truly is. She learns to embrace her strengths, her weaknesses, her quirks, and her flaws. She learns that she does not need to change herself to fit into someone else's idea of who she should be. This self-acceptance is not complacency. It is not an excuse to stop growing or improving. It is the recognition that she is enough just as she is, and that her worth is not dependent on the approval of others. A woman with no friends learns to love herself, to appreciate her own company, and to find peace in her own presence. This is a powerful place to be, because it means that she is not dependent on others for her sense of self-worth. She knows who she is, and she is at peace with herself. There is a quiet, unshakable strength that emerges from within a woman who learns to live without the constant support of friends. This inner strength is not the loud, boisterous kind that seeks attention or validation. It is a quiet confidence, a deep-seated resilience that allows her to stand tall in the face of adversity. It is the kind of strength that comes from within, rooted in a deep understanding of who she is and what she is capable of, regardless of the opinions of others. A woman with no friends learns to be her own source of strength. When there is no one else to lean on, she becomes the pillar that holds her life together. This is not to say that she never feels fear, doubt, or uncertainty. On the contrary, She feels all of these things deeply, but she has learned to move forward despite them. She has learned that courage is not the absence of fear, but the decision to act in spite of it. This inner strength also manifests in her ability to navigate life's challenges without seeking constant reassurance from others. A woman with no friends learns to trust herself. She learns to trust her decisions, her instincts, and her ability to handle whatever life throws her way. This self-trust is invaluable because it allows her to move through life with confidence, knowing that she is capable of handling anything that comes her way. There is a unique joy that comes from self-fulfillment, from knowing that you are living your life in alignment with your true purpose. A woman with no friends often finds herself on this path of self-fulfillment because she is not distracted by the expectations or demands of others. She is free to pursue her passions, her goals, and her dreams without worrying about how they will be perceived by those around her. This self-fulfillment is not dependent on external achievements or the approval of others. It is the deep sense of satisfaction that comes from knowing that you are living a life that is true to who you are. A woman with no friends learns to find joy in her own accomplishments, in her own growth, and in her own journey. She may not have a group of friends to celebrate her victories with, but she has something even more valuable, the knowledge that she is living a life that is authentic and meaningful. This is a joy that cannot be taken away by others because it is rooted in her own sense of purpose and fulfillment. One of the most important lessons a woman with no friends learns is the importance of boundaries. Without the constant presence of others in her life, she becomes acutely aware of her own needs, desires, and limits. She learns to set boundaries that protect her time, her energy, and her peace of mind. A woman with no friends is often more attuned to her own well-being because she is not constantly catering to the needs or expectations of others. She learns to prioritize her own mental, emotional, and physical health, and she is not afraid to say no to situations or people that drain her energy or bring negativity into her life. Boundaries are not walls, they are bridges to healthier relationships and a more fulfilling life. A woman who understands the value of boundaries is able to create space for what truly matters to her. She does not allow others to dictate how she spends her time or how she should feel. Instead, she takes ownership of her own life and makes decisions that are aligned with her values and her well-being. This ability to set boundaries is a gift that serves her well in all areas of life. It allows her to maintain her sense of self, even in relationships, and it ensures that she does not lose herself in the process of trying to please others. For many women with no friends, the journey of solitude becomes a deeply spiritual one. When the distractions of social interactions and friendships are removed, there is space for a deeper connection with the divine. A woman in this situation often finds herself turning inward, seeking answers to life's big questions and exploring her relationship with her Creator. In the absence of friendships, a woman with no friends often discovers that her most important relationship is the one she has with the divine. She learns to rely on her faith to find comfort and strength in her spirituality, and to trust that there is a higher purpose for her life, even if she cannot always see it. Spiritual growth is often accelerated in solitude. When a woman is not distracted by the noise of the world, she can hear the still small voice within her more clearly. She learns to trust her intuition, to follow the guidance of her spirit, and to surrender to the flow of life. This spiritual journey is deeply personal and transformative. It is a process of shedding old beliefs, fears, and doubts, and stepping into a new understanding of herself and her purpose in the world. This path of spiritual growth also brings a sense of peace and contentment that cannot be found in external relationships. A woman with no friends may find herself feeling more connected to the divine, more at peace with herself, and more grounded in her purpose than ever before. This is the true gift of solitude, the opportunity to deepen her relationship with her Creator and to live a life that is guided by her spirit. A woman with no friends often has to release the expectations that society places on her. Society tells women that they should always be surrounded by friends, that they should be social, outgoing, and always available to others. But a woman who has walked the path of solitude learns that these expectations are not always realistic or healthy. She learns to release the pressure to conform to societal norms and to live her life in a way that feels authentic to her. This release of expectations is incredibly freeing. It allows her to live her life on her own terms without feeling the need to constantly meet the expectations of others. This release of expectations also extends to her relationships. A woman with no friends learns that she does not need to rely on others for her happiness or fulfillment. She learns to release the expectation that others should make her feel valued or complete. Instead, she finds her sense of worth within herself, and she is no longer dependent on others to validate her existence. There is a profound courage required to walk alone. It takes strength to stand apart from the crowd, to walk a path that others may not understand, and to pursue a life that is true to yourself. A woman with no friends often has to summon this courage daily. The world may not understand her choice to walk alone. People may question her, judge her, or pity her. But a woman who has learned to walk alone knows that her path is her own. She knows that her journey is unique and that her purpose is not tied to the approval of others. This courage to walk alone is a sign of true strength. It is the courage to trust yourself, to follow your own path, and to believe in your own worth, even when others do not. It is the courage to say, I am enough, and to live your life in alignment with that truth. Timing is everything. A woman with no friends often comes to understand the importance of timing in her life. She learns that relationships, opportunities, and experiences come into her life at the right time, and she trusts that what is meant for her will not pass her by. This wisdom of timing allows her to be patient, to wait for the right relationships, and to trust that when the time is right, the right people will come into her life. She is not in a rush to force connections or to fill the void of solitude with superficial relationships. Instead, she trusts the process of life and allows things to unfold naturally. This trust in timing also extends to her personal growth. A woman with no friends learns that growth takes time, and she is patient with herself as she navigates her own journey of self-discovery and transformation. She understands that there is no rush to become the person she is meant to be, and that each step of the journey is valuable and necessary. A woman with no friends often comes to realize that she has the power of choice in every aspect of her life. She chooses how she spends her time, who she allows into her life, and what she focuses on. This empowerment of choice is a powerful realization, because it allows her to take control of her own life. She is no longer at the mercy of other people's opinions or expectations. She chooses her own path, her own priorities, and her own destiny. This sense of empowerment is liberating because it allows her to live her life with intention and purpose. The power of choice also allows her to create the life she truly wants. A woman with no friends is free to design a life that aligns with her values, her passions, and her goals. She is not limited by the expectations of others, and she is not afraid to make bold choices that may go against the grain. Solitude is often misunderstood. In a society that places so much emphasis on social connections, being alone can sometimes be viewed as a failure or as something to be pitied. But a woman who walks the path of solitude understands that it is not something to be feared, but something to be embraced. Solitude is a powerful space for growth, reflection, and healing. When a woman has no friends, she learns to find peace in her own company. She becomes her own confidant, her own supporter, and her own advisor. The silence of solitude becomes a place where she can hear her own thoughts clearly without the influence of others clouding her judgment. In this silence, she gains clarity about who she is and what she wants out of life. Solitude gives her the space to breathe, to think, and to reflect. It allows her to process her emotions, to heal from past wounds, and to gain a deeper understanding of herself. In solitude, she is able to reconnect with her inner self, to listen to the whispers of her soul, and to rediscover her purpose. There is a stillness that comes with solitude, a calmness that allows a woman to recharge and regain her strength. In this stillness, she finds her power. She learns that she does not need to be constantly surrounded by others to feel complete. Instead, she discovers that she is whole, just as she is. A woman with no friends often becomes highly attuned to the importance of self-care. Without the constant distractions of social obligations, she has the time and space to focus on her own well-being. She learns to prioritize her mental, emotional, and physical health, recognizing that she must take care of herself first in order to live a fulfilling life. Self-care is not just about pampering or indulging in luxuries. It is about setting healthy boundaries, making time for rest, and nurturing her own soul. A woman with no friends learns that self-care is essential to her well-being, and she becomes intentional about creating time and space for it in her life. She learns to listen to her body, to honor her emotions, and to give herself the care and attention she needs. This may mean taking time for herself, saying no to commitments that do not serve her, or simply allowing herself to rest when she needs it. A woman with no friends learns that self-care is not selfish, it is necessary for her survival and her growth. Through the practice of self-care, she also learns to love herself more deeply. She learns to appreciate her own worth and to treat herself with the kindness and compassion she deserves. This self-love is a powerful force, and it transforms the way she sees herself and the world around her. One of the greatest gifts a woman with no friends receives is liberation from the cycle of comparison. In a world where people are constantly measuring themselves against others, a woman who walks alone is free from this trap. Without the constant presence of others in her life, she is not constantly comparing her life, her achievements, or her appearance to those around her. This freedom from comparison allows her to live her life authentically. She is not concerned with keeping up with others or trying to meet societal expectations. Instead, she is focused on her own journey, her own growth, and her own happiness. She learns that her worth is not determined by how she measures up to others, but by how true she is to herself. Comparison is a thief of joy. It robs people of the ability to appreciate their own unique gifts and talents. But a woman with no friends learns to celebrate her own victories, no matter how small, without feeling the need to compare them to the achievements of others. She learns to find joy in her own progress, knowing that her journey is hers alone. This liberation from comparison also allows her to embrace her uniqueness. She understands that she is not meant to be like everyone else, and she takes pride in her individuality. This confidence in her own uniqueness allows her to live her life boldly and authentically without the need for external validation. Personal growth is one of the most rewarding aspects of a woman's journey when she has no friends. Without the distractions of constant social interactions, she has the opportunity to focus on her own development. She can invest in her personal growth, whether through education, hobbies, or self-reflection. A woman with no friends often has the time and space to pursue her passions, to explore new interests, and to challenge herself in ways that might not have been possible if she were constantly surrounded by others. She is free to grow at her own pace, to set her own goals, and to define what success looks like for her. This personal growth is not just about external achievements. It is about becoming the best version of herself. It is about developing her character, her resilience, and her strength. It is about learning to navigate life's challenges with grace and wisdom. A woman with no friends learns that personal growth is a lifelong journey, and she embraces the process of becoming. Through this journey of personal growth, she also learns to celebrate her progress. She may not have friends to cheer her on, but she learns to be her own cheerleader. She takes pride in her accomplishments, knowing that each step forward is a victory, no matter how small. Inner peace is one of the most valuable treasures a woman with no friends can discover. In a world that is often chaotic and demanding, a woman who has learned to live without the constant noise of others finds peace within herself. This inner peace is not something that can be bought or achieved through external means. It is something that comes from within, from a deep sense of contentment and acceptance. A woman with no friends often learns to cultivate this inner peace through her experiences of solitude. She learns to quiet her mind, to let go of the need for external validation, and to find peace in her own presence. This inner peace becomes a source of strength, allowing her to navigate life's challenges with calmness and clarity. Inner peace is not the absence of problems or difficulties. It is the ability to remain centered and grounded even in the midst of chaos. A woman with no friends learns that she cannot control everything that happens in her life, but she can control how she responds to it. This understanding allows her to maintain her peace, even when things do not go as planned. This inner peace also allows her to approach life with a sense of grace and acceptance. She learns to let go of the need to control everything and to trust that life will unfold as it is meant to. This trust in the process of life brings her a deep sense of peace, knowing that she is exactly where she is meant to be. Independence is one of the greatest gifts a woman with no friends receives. When there is no one else to rely on, she learns to rely on herself. She becomes independent in every sense of the word, emotionally, mentally, and sometimes even financially. This independence allows her to live life on her own terms without being dependent on others for her happiness or success. A woman with no friends learns to make her own decisions, to take responsibility for her own life, and to chart her own course. This independence is incredibly empowering because it gives her the freedom to live her life in a way that is true to herself. Independence does not mean that she never seeks help or support when she needs it. It means that she knows how to stand on her own 2 feet and that she is not afraid to take control of her own life. She learns to trust herself and her ability to navigate life's challenges. This independence also allows her to pursue her dreams without being held back by the expectations or limitations of others. A woman with no friends learns that she is in control of her own destiny and she has the power to create the life she wants. This realization is incredibly liberating because it allows her to take bold steps toward her goals, knowing that she is capable of achieving them. One of the greatest challenges a woman with no friends may face is the challenge of vulnerability. Without close friendships, she may find it difficult to open up to others, to share her thoughts and feelings, and to be vulnerable. Vulnerability requires trust. And for a woman who has learned to walk alone, trust can sometimes be difficult to give. However, vulnerability is not a weakness. It is a strength. It takes courage to be vulnerable, to let others see your true self, and to open your heart to the possibility of connection. A woman with no friends may struggle with this, but she also has the opportunity to learn that vulnerability is a necessary part of life. Vulnerability allows her to connect with others on a deeper level, to form meaningful relationships, and to experience the fullness of life. It requires her to let go of her defenses and to trust that she is enough, just as she is. A woman with no friends may learn to embrace vulnerability, not as a sign of weakness, but as a sign of strength and courage. Through the challenge of vulnerability, she may also discover that she is capable of forming deep, meaningful connections with others. These connections may not come in the form of traditional friendships, but they may come in unexpected ways, through mentors, family members, or even through her relationship with herself.